Welcome to sunny Cyprus, which despite being an island nation with a population of less than 1 million, is home to a really interesting racing industry. While here, I couldn't resist the opportunity of finding out a little bit more about it. And it all starts here at the capital's racetrack, Nicosia. A day at the races in Cyprus is a relaxed affair. Our visit coincided with a further lessening of COVID restrictions across the island, so a small crowd trickled in, fairly standard for the midweek Wednesday meeting. Nicosia's laid-back vibe is all part of its charm, and it even extends to the busy members' lounge, where vocal regulars watch racing from around the world through a haze of smoke. It's there that we found out more about the history of racing here, from the track's general manager, George Hadiminas.
Racing here in Cyprus has a long tradition. We have a local breed of horses which the local villagers used to race in the past, but racing as we see today began when the British came to the island in 1878. From then on, several racing clubs in the different towns were sort of came to be with local people who had an interest in racing. And from then it basically started to become more professional in the after, let's say, the 1900s. And gradually the smaller racing clubs disappeared as they needed a more professional sort of way to work. And the Nicosia Race Club was the only one that seemed to survive this, and we're doing very, very well.
The Nicosia track is exclusively a dirt one and has to be one of the tightest in the world, measuring less than 12 metres in some places. Not an easy task then, for clerk of the course, Christos Constantinou.
One complete round is 1,250 metres. The average width of our track is 12 meters. And we do meetings 2 times a week. The horses are exercised on the same track. Right. We don't have other track to exercise in the morning. We do 2 times a week, approximately 8 to 9 races each meeting.
And how do you maintain the track? Do you put water?
Yes, we have a man who is responsible. We have machines, grader, shovels. We put also water every day because we have high temperatures. And we try to keep constant moisture.
How many trainers are there?
We have 42 licensed trainers. And we have also 29 jockeys.
So, with a sandy, narrow track and 9 races at 30-minute intervals, is Nicosia an easy place to garner a living from on top of a horse? Cyprus's answer to Asheen Murphy is perennial champion jockey Konstantinos Kapodistrias, known as Capo, who is something of a hero to racing fans on the island. He told us more about what it's like to ride there.
Αγαπούσα πολύ τα άλογα, ήταν κάτι που μου άρεσε από μικρός και ήθελα να γίνω.
And how many career wins so far?
1,850.
Wow. Well, which has been the best?
We're close to 2,000.
You are?
Yes.
And which has been the best one, your biggest win?
I think the derby. The
Derby,
one. Yeah. Νομίζω δύσκολο. Το στίβος μας είναι πολύ μικρός, είναι πολύ κλειστές οι στροφές και για πολύ λίγα άλογα.
Heraklios has experienced riding in the UK and plans to head overseas once again when the COVID rules make travel easier.
I'm riding now for 3 years, but I also ride abroad, and it's all thanks to Lara Swaya and Sheikh Fatima festival, and I was invited with some other apprentice jockey when I was apprentice to ride abroad, and I've also been to Abu Dhabi to the finals, but I didn't ride because I have to win a race before, but I didn't, so I was there as a guest but it was really nice, a very beautiful country as well. So,
And you also went to the UK, to England?
yeah, I was there last year in February, and I was training horses for Dean Ivory over there, and I rode 2 horses, but because of the coronavirus, I have to come back because it was the lockdown, and then I have to come to my countries.
Oh, a real shame. But you want to go again? You want to ride overseas?
Of course. It's a dream job, and a dream of every jockey, I think, is to ride abroad and meet new people, meet new jockeys, learn new tactics. It's really important to do that thing for every jockey. And of course, I am watching all the races from UK, and because I have many friends abroad, I am sending them message to watch the races that they won and everything. So it's really nice if I go back again sometime in the future.
And why did you start riding so late? If you're 24, you didn't start till maybe 20?
It was all about my weight. I was 64 kilos. Yeah, but my dad is a trainer, and he was a jockey as well. Also, my grandfather was a jockey, and I was planning to be a trainer, but I came here, and then I see my weight goes really down, and I lost around 9 kilos. I was weighing 54, 55 or something. And then I start to thinking about to do my dream job, because when I was a child, I wanted to be a jockey.
So what of the horses? An initial glance at the card gives a mix of races for 3-year-olds and upwards, plus one restricted to 8-year-olds and upwards. Yes, that's right, 8. Good for racegoers, who get to see their old favourites return to action year after year. It is somewhat unusual, however, and to find out more, we chatted to top vet Stavros Yiannakouris about what life is like for Cyprus's racehorses.
The way they're brought up and the amount of time they get to race here, in a way they're a little more forgiving in some of the more harsh circumstances, I would say, that they can see. So that's why we are pushed to allow them to race longer, also before of the low number of horses that we get in the past few years, because we did see a drop in the active race horses that we have. But it's still enough to have two meetings per week to have here.
And tell me about the climate. Obviously it's pretty warm. Does that cause any problems?
Yeah, so the issues that we see, since it's warm and humid, and the dirt track that we have here, we do have a high incidence of exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhage, IPH, that we see. But also, in addition to that, during the summer, some of the horses here suffer the syndrome of anhydrosis. So basically, their sweat glands are get amount of shock when it's so hot and humid, and they're not allowed. They cannot sweat anymore. So the horse ends up overheating. So in that situation, that horse usually will miss the summer season, because the only treatment, if you reach the point that you have anhydrosis, is they need to be removed from the environment, taken into a colder climate until their sweat glands are working again. So those are the two main non-orthopedic issues that we tend to see during the meeting.
The race card gives an interesting insight into another somewhat unusual facet of Cypriot racing. Several of the contests are restricted to Cyprus breds, while others offer imported horses. The balance between them is a delicate one, as George explains.
At the moment we have separate racing. They race separately, and they're about the same number as the thoroughbred horses here in Cyprus. And we have the cups for the thoroughbreds, the cups for the local bred horses, and they're both thriving now.
What's the biggest race of the year? When do you get your biggest crowd?
Well, we have the Derby, the Cyprus Derby, which is for the thoroughbred horses, and a week after that we have the Cyprus Turf Club Cup, which is the derby for the local bred horses. We have prize money for both races of around 50,000 euro each, and it is one of the popular days. It's in November and December.
There's another difference too. Some of the races are for thoroughbreds, while others for local breds, who are also thoroughbreds. Confused? We were too, so we went to visit top breeder Pavlos Theoharis for an explanation.
Basically, the country breds are also thoroughbreds. But in 1974, we had the invasion, and a lot of horses were lost. Yes? Okay. They stayed in the occupied area of mostly Limnia, Aios Serios. We had a lot, Dikomo, we had a lot of horses in these villages. So the Turf Club decided, and they said, okay, all the horses that are in Cyprus now, we call them country breds. And in order to improve racing, we have to start importing. And all the imports were thoroughbreds. Right. So basically, the country breds are also thoroughbreds. And the country bred should only breed to a thoroughbred stallion. So basically, every year, that is diluted even more and more. That's why sometimes you see a 3-year country bred doing a better time than a 3-year thoroughbred.
Back at the track, we saw one of the current stars of Cyprus racing. The race coming up is quite exciting because in it is the second best horse on the island. His name is Royal Theo and he's prepping here for a cup race in a couple of weeks. He does have 70 kilos. Be interesting to see how he gets on. Royal Theo won well, cheered home voraciously by the enthusiastic crowd in the members' enclosure. Although the races were sparsely attended on the days we visited, there is a real atmosphere when a favourite wins, which is mirrored in betting shops all over the island. Racing here being entirely dependent on that income stream. In 2020 and parts of 2021, COVID rules forced the closure of betting shops. As such, racing ground to a halt for several weeks.
COVID has been a problem for us, but we're now about where we were before. It has bounced back very quickly. So we're very happy about that because we have been losing a lot of money when COVID was, we had all these restrictions, which we still have restrictions now. But people got used to these restrictions and racing is back to where it was about before we stopped. Obviously, with television, a lot of people stay at home. It's not in the past. In the past, we had many thousands of people, but with television, some choose to stay at the betting shops, some choose to stay at home, and a lot of people come to the racing.
Nicosia Racetrack is in the heart of the capital city, near to the border with the Turkish side of the island. While some horses are trained on the track, other trainers make use of the island's stunning geography. Well, this is training Cyprus style. I've come to the yard of Christoph Christophorou, who's been champion here many times. He's going to show me around and give me a bit of an insight into what it's like training when you have facilities such as these. Christos trains high in the mountains near to the city of Pavos and built his facilities from scratch since returning from a stint in the UK.
Actually, I started here back in 2005 with almost nothing. I built up 5 stables for the beginning and then slowly managed to have now 60 horses almost in training. That was a huge, I think, achievement for me. And another difficult thing is that I'm outside of Nicosia Racetrack. That's not easy to train here. So to be able to have 60 horses now, I'm very happy.
Yeah, you should be. And you're doing really well. You've been champion trainer a few times. You've won the Derby. It's going well. Yeah,
it's going well. Actually better than I was imagining to. It was my dream to be a champion trainer in Cyprus. And touch wood, last few years we are in the best 3 trainers in Cyprus. I'm trying to train like the English style. I can't do that because we don't have that much staff, but I'm feeding them 4 times a day. I'm training them, with, as you could see, my track is uphill, and I'm doing something like Newmarket style. So, I don't know, maybe that's the trick. That's why we're going so well. It's a very dangerous track, but it's nice for the horses to train them uphill. They're getting very strong, especially the back end. And you know, when there's uphill, you minimize the chance of injuries on the front legs. That's another advantage.
Despite having had plenty of success, Christos is forthcoming about the challenges facing trainers in Cyprus.
We need to make better racetrack and raise the prize money to help, you know, new owners come and spend their money to Cyprus racing, because we don't have really too many owners now, and because of that we have to be the owners, trainers, owners, breeders and everything. That's not good for racing.
What's your dream? You to have a runner abroad one day?
Yeah, that's a dream. Maybe in Dubai or in England someday, because I said to William that one day I'm going to come and beat you, but it's not easy. Yeah, that's a dream.
Even with certain races restricted to imported horses, the majority racing on the island are bred there. There are several stud farms whose owners have imported horses from a variety of countries, including, as we found out, right here in the UAE. Welcome to Rui Valley Stud in Cyprus. It's one of the most successful in the country, and at the moment it's home to 3 stallions, including a couple that you might remember. They have 2009 Godolphin Mile winner Golden Arrow here, and also Platinum Star, a winner at Meydan back in 2020.
Golden Arrow in the centre is doing the better, takes the lead from Jet Express. Lucky Ray on the rail, Golden Arrow in front. Jet Express and Lucky Ray are trying, but Golden Arrow wins. Golden Arrow wins the Jebel Ali Mile.
Golden Arrow won 4 of his 33 races, 2 for Dermot Weld in Ireland, before he moved to the UAE and Erwin Sharpie. Now 18, the son of Danehill has done well in his second career for owner Charis Stavrakis, a former chairman of the Nicosia Race Club. Moving around to the stallion boxes, we found another ex-Dubai star, Platinum Star, the winner of a listed race as a 2-year-old for Saeed bin Saror. The Lope de Vega 4-year-old didn't race after winning the 2020 Dubai Trophy on Meydan's turf, but is adapting well to his new home. So, we found out that Dubai winners are popular with Cyprus breeders, and none more so than Pavlos Theoharis, who stands another Jebel Ali winner, 2016 stakes hero Hathek, at his family-run stud near Limassol. When it comes to breeding here in Cyprus, it doesn't get much better than this. This is Hawaii Farm, and they've had more than 100 group winners so far, and the second in the table only has around about 35, so they're doing extremely well. And at the moment, this is home to 2 stallions, Dogajachi, who was an Italian Group 2 winner, and Hathek, so successful in Dubai, where he won a Jebel Ali Stakes and was second in a Godolphin Mile. Pavlos has achieved notoriety as an owner for naming the vast majority of his horses Hawaii. So much so that on the racetrack, that's the name he answers to.
Our parents, when they started up with a flower shop.
Okay.
And they, in those days, in 1968, they were trying to come up with a name that when you hear it, it reminds you of tropical and flowers and all that. And you know, Hawaii, Honolulu,
yeah, it does.
Sounded like the one. So they started with that. And then when my father moved on to other types of business, because Cyprus is a small place, everybody used to call him Hawaii because, you know, you get identified by that.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and most of what you do is Hawaii.
And now they call you Hawaii.
Yes, they call me, they call my children, they call my brother.
Hathek is somewhat in the infancy of his stallion career, having his first crop racing this season. He's made a flying start, as his devoted owner explains.
His first runner last year, 2-year-old, he was a winner. Then she won her second time out as well. And that's our ownership. Another horse had 2 runs so far, first time out and then won. And then he had another one first time out winner, and he only had like 6 runners. So his 6 runners, 3 are winners of 4 races. And we are very much looking forward to a great career.
Hethek is well represented by his sons and daughters on the farm, several of whom boast the same markings. Pavlos has high hopes of them emulating him on the track too.
It's not common to find these younger horses. They don't like to be interrupted once they are eating and like this. But Hethek's horses, they don't mind that.
Really?
You can go in, you can play with them. Yes, they don't get upset easy, you know. Yes. And another thing that I like about them is that you teach them something once is enough.
Dukadatri is the farm's elder statesman stallion. Now aged 22, the son of Dr. Devious has also done well for the Hawaii team.
I wanted an Ahonura, so we got Duca. That's how we got Duca.
Where did he race?
In Italy, he's the winner of the Premio Ribo, the Group 2 race over a mile.
At our next stud, we met one who thrived even closer to Cyprus. Yalisos was known as the Greek Freak, having been unbeaten in his home country. He then joined trainer Luca Kamani in Newmarket, winning the listed Achilles Stakes at Haydock and the Group 3 Coral Charge at Sandown in 5 starts in the UK.
We brought it here 5 years ago. Marinopoulos gave it to Dimitsanis, the Greek jockey that...
He gave it to him as a present?
Yes, a present.
Wow.
And we brought it here. And this year, the first fillies and colts from Yalisos raced. We have 2 wins until now. Okay, I'm happy actually with that.
Alexis has invested heavily in his farm, with some breathtakingly beautiful results.
I was born in horses. Actually, my grandfather and my father used to have horses. I started riding when I was 5, but the last time I rode a horse was 25 years ago, actually, because I got a lot of weight, yes. And here now I have 70 horses here. I breed 15 to 16 foals every year, and I have a stable down at the races, and I usually have on training 16 to 20 horses every time.
Alexis plans to train his youngsters at the farm in future and has built a rather unique track to help get them fit.
The last 2 years I made a lot of improvements here because we are getting bigger and bigger, and you cannot afford, all these costs, to take all the horses down to the races. After the very tiring week that I have in work, to come here is relaxing, and I enjoy that.
Alexis' enthusiasm for racing and breeding is infectious. With him and the current management team at the helm, you sense that racing here is in good hands. However, it would be wrong to paint an entirely rosy picture. Horse numbers are reduced, staffing can be an issue, and more should be done to ensure Nicosia Racecourse attracts a percentage of the more than 3 million tourists who visit this beautiful island annually. If you're heading to Cyprus on your holidays, don't just take it from us. Racing there is a must-do.